Okay, this video is being made to help you out with Chapter 3. It's pretty important that you understand the supply and demand curve, why they're shaped that way, and how they shift. So let's first talk about the demand curve. The demand curve will always be upwards or downward sloping left to right. And that's because of the inverse relationship between price and quantity, right? When price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. When price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. So you'll always have a downward sloping left to right curve because of the law of demand. So in other words, at a price of 10, price on this side of the axis, quantity demanded down here, at a price of 10, you may just get one taker. But if you lower the price down to 9, you might get 2. Lower it down more to 8, you may get 3, and so on and so forth. So your demand increases as the price drops. Now, in your text on page 89, on the headline, it talks about the law of demand, where apparently at Harvard University there are some issues about underage drinking, or at least people getting in trouble drinking, and they said, hey, I tell you what, let's do this. Let's increase the price of alcohol, and that should lower the demand, right? So they can do that by, I think it said something about assessing a tax on the bartenders of the bars, eliminating all-you-can-drink type of events, that kind of thing. And so they want to, in a sense, move the demand up the curve here, and so they'll have less problems. But if you turn the page to page 60, you have 5 things that are called determinants of market demand. They include tastes, income, other goods, expectations, and number of buyers. Notice that price is not one of them. Price is not one of them because that's a ceteris paribus. We're holding that constant. So there are other things that can go in and have an effect on the demand for a product without changing the price. And this causes the demand curve to shift left or right. Increases in demand will cause the demand curve to shift right. Decreases in demand will cause the demand curve to shift left. For example, taste would be a determinant of demand. What's an example of going on in history and reality that's people's tastes or preference have changed? Wallpaper. Not as many people are using wallpaper anymore, and so the demand for wallpaper has shifted left. Another example would be changes in income. People make more money in good economic times. The demand for things like recreational vehicles or Harley Davidson would increase. So the demand would shift right. So in other words, if demand shifted right, now we have 5 people willing to pay 10. Rather than before, we only had 1 person willing to pay 10, right? Another example of other goods, many folks, including my family, have cut off cable, and we now use Netflix. That's another good or service that has come into the market that we prefer over cable. And so the Netflix curve has shifted right, and maybe the cable curve has shifted left. Expectations. Well, let's think about what happens to ticket prices at Neyland Stadium on Saturdays in the fall. If Tennessee is expected to be really good one year, ticket prices are hard to get, and so prices go up, and demand curve shifts right. If not so good a certain year, or maybe it's going to rain, or they're going to play a team that's not very good, demand shifts left, and the prices come down. Number of buyers. We saw I guess you could say that assisted living communities are seeing an increase in the number of buyers because baby boomers are getting to the retirement age and moving into those type of communities. And so the demand curve will shift right. Now, that's the demand curve. The supply curve looks like this. Supply curve looks like this because suppliers, you're going to have more people wanting to supply at a higher price. Fewer ones will want to supply a product at a lower price. So if there's a lot of money to be made, obviously you're going to get a lot of entrants into the market. And it will be upward sloping left to right. If you look on page 65 of your text, you see that there are determinants of supply, just like there are determinants of demand, that will make this curve shift right and left. An increase in suppliers would cause it to shift right. Decrease would cause it to shift left. Technology, factor costs, other goods, taxes and subsidies, expectations, and numbers of sellers. I don't want to go through each one, but maybe my favorite example is my wife asked me to get her a DSLR, Nikon DSLR camera recently. Those things are kind of expensive. Didn't quite understand why I was paying so much for a camera, and then she explained to me if we got that along with some software to go along with it, she could start taking pictures of families. Family photography, charge them $100, give them a CD, clean them up with Photoshop, and you're done. Well, there was a time when you have to be highly skilled and trained photographer working in a dark room and be able to produce this type of photography. But now, because technology has increased so much, there are many more entrants into this market, many more suppliers, and so it's caused the supply curve to shift right. Now, in this type of example, if you got a constant demand and supply shifts right, what happens to the equilibrium price? It goes from this level down to this level. So given a constant demand and an increase in supply, the price drops. Same thing the other way around. If you got a constant supply and you see an increase in demand, something comes in style, everybody wants it, it shifts right, price goes up. The equilibrium price goes from this point to that point. So before you go any further, it's really important that you understand how these supply and demand curves work.